So grateful to have Dr. Eddie here again this week. Today's topic is the consequences of fear. And I saw the topic and I thought, wow, that is so pervasive and why so many of us stay in addiction or have fear of what recovery will bring. So I know that this will be beneficial for those. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Eddie.
Well, thank you, Tammy, but I'm going to turn it right back to you because I'm going to ask you a question. It's like, do you agree that in this space that we do our work in the recovery world, don't you believe that fear is really a very predominant emotion that both from the betrayer side and those who have been betrayed experience?
Oh, absolutely. And I've shared with people, I was afraid to get into recovery. I was afraid it wouldn't work for me. I was afraid it would work for me. So there was a no win with fear, from that standpoint. From a betrayed partner, the safety seeking absolutely goes to, I'm afraid of, if I don't know, if I don't prepare, if I don't fix everything and make sure, that it's going to happen again and I'll be hurt. So yeah, and understandably on all of that. But I really believe in the false evidence appears real, for fear. And so as soon as I can pay attention to that, but yes, pervasive and having the ability to recognize it, I think will be very helpful. So I'm grateful you're sharing with this topic today.
And that's the point of this today. It's about helping to recognize it because again, it is detrimental to what you're trying to accomplish on both sides.
Yeah.
So we have it. So therefore, we have for the betrayed, for those who've been betrayed, there's the question that you just brought up, Tammy, that if he's going to do his work, if he's doing the right work, if he's going to change, will he be faithful? Okay, and then therefore, for in some cases that we see a betrayed partner who really takes hold of the recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I need you doing this, this, and this. And then a couple of days later, oh, I heard in group about that, and I want you to start doing this. And you're doing more work than they are. That is not helpful. It's not helpful for two things. One, the betrayer start to feel in a way that, okay, I'm being micromanaged here. If anything that I do is not good enough, there's always going to be a need to do more. But more importantly, for those who've been betrayed, what you're doing when you try to take hold of all of that is you're not allowing the process to play out. And that's really important. We have to let the process play out. You've heard me talk in the past, and Tammy, you've heard me talk about this. Like, I do agree in the beginning stages of recovery, we need to do things. We have to put things in place to help the betrayer to stay sober. Like, for example, you might take away the smartphone for a time, but 2 years into it, and he hasn't demonstrated that he is acting out at all, and we're still playing with a flip phone. What happens is we have not allowed the process to play out so that we can see what would happen if he does have access to things. Because again, remember, it's not like you're trying to create behavior modification. I mean, how much confidence do you have? How much sense of security do you have if it's just based on the fact that he can't get it versus he does have access to it, but he's not doing it? What I want to see, I want to see that transformation of the heart that
Yes.
comes with it. But when people take too much control, that doesn't happen. And then on
You
the
can never
betrayer
plan.
side, go ahead.
I
No,
was gonna say you can
go
never
ahead.
plan ahead enough to protect. Like you cannot possibly plan ahead for every possible trigger, circumstance, whatever. Something's going to happen. So if the betrayer, does not have the tools to use in real life, you can't make it safe enough.
Right, you can't make it safe enough. So, and then on the side of the betrayer, there's a lot of fear too. And some of the fear is, and I think Tammy hit on a really good one. Like, oh my gosh, I may have to give this thing up. What can happen when I do give it up? Will I be able to survive without it? Because remember, for many of it, it's like, I need this. Not for now. Now they've come to learn and understand I desire that. It's not that I need it. In a way, they do need it. And why do they need it? Because they don't sit with the emotional discomfort. They've never learned how to do that. So therefore, they learned at a very young age, distract myself, run away. And that's what we have there. So therefore, how do I do this? How do I get this done? Can I handle her pain? Can I handle what's coming at me? Because again, it seems so hostile. It seems so frightening now in this sense. And will I always be in trouble? Am I going to be in trouble for the rest of our marriage if this is always going to be the case? So those are the things that are going on. And if you look at that, if you go deeper, what you're going to see are inner children at work. Again, the pronoun thing that I use because I work with men, right? So therefore, those who are betrayed, that little girl is there, and she's terrified. She's terrified because she doesn't know what to do with this pain. She doesn't know what to do with this. And therefore, you need to be able to consult her to say, hey, you know what? I will handle this. And for those who have betrayed, their little boy is going crazy. Right? She's angry with me. She's mad with me. She's never going to be happy with us. We're always going to be going through this. And got to be able to be there to let him know, look, you know what? I can handle this. This is not what we experienced when we were younger, when people were angry with us. This is someone who we hurt, someone who's pain. Men, you guys have heard me say it thousands of times. Do not see hostility. You got to break through that to see the pain. That's what happened. So what's going on here? What happened with fear? Really what happened? Fear short circuit our rational processing. That's the bottom line. That's what really happens here, okay? So therefore, again, we know about the amygdala. The amygdala controls, like the thermostat that controls, pleasure and pain. And what happens, it becomes overactive. As I say, and I tell my men, her amygdala is on fire. Okay, it's on fire. It is out of control. And you're sitting here and trying to rationalize with her. And you get upset and angry when you're not getting the same thing back. It's not because she doesn't want to, it's because she cannot. That's what happens when, again, that part of the brain is so stimulated. So that's what's going on. It becomes, we call it, the amygdala hijack at times. That's what we say. So therefore, the brain perceives events as very negative. And what happens is it remembers them that way. So therefore, when we're fearful today, okay, it's not just that event that we're dealing with that is influencing our fear level. It's also events and people, circumstances from our past that are recalled subconsciously. So again, like, let's say this is the fear you're now dealing with right now because he didn't call you. You were supposed to call. He didn't call. You can't get a hold of him. This is the fear. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's say you had a father who was unfaithful to your mom. And you can remember mom being so worried and upset because he wasn't around. Where is she? Saying, I have to go to the bar and drag him out. Well, that thing comes in here too. And this event that you're worried and fearful about, rightfully so, now becomes this. Because the two worlds have collided. And it's become bigger than life. This is the same thing that happens with the men when we're talking about the whole idea of going deeper and the idea that, okay, this is their event that happened today, but it reminds them of something from the past, and it comes in and your anxiety level increases like this. And now, again, they can't sit with emotional discomfort, so they run away. It's the same thing here. But what we have, so therefore, again, when this is going on, it may be things such as sight, sound, smell, lots of other things that you remember something from the past, and you may not even remember, that are activating the fear. They're making the amygdala, that what might be just smoking at one point, okay, or maybe just a little bit of a fire, now start to rage. It becomes an inferno at times, and you've seen it. The women who've been betrayed, you know what it's like. It's just, and how many have said to me, I lost it. I mean, I lost it. I can't believe it. And I hate the way I've become. And that's because of fear, because we're giving in to the fear process. So, for example, let's say you have, for the betrayer, let's say he had a father who just brutalized him. Okay. But now he may find anytime somebody raises their voice, he starts to panic. He doesn't know why. Why can't I handle the fact that she's upset with me? Because it's not just you and her in the room. Dad's in the room too. He just doesn't know it. And he's got to get dad out of the room so he can take this and bring it down to here, because then he can deal with this and handle it. Again, go back to the idea of, the woman who grew up in a home where the father was, unfaithful, right? You can have a very difficult time separating the pain that she feels right now because of her husband's infidelity if dad comes into the room and it becomes like this. It magnifies itself. And this is part of, got to be able to pull it apart. The man whose father, right, paid no attention to him growing up. And now when he finds himself, being sexually attracted to other men. And he doesn't understand why. Because he thinks I love women. I love my wife. I love being with her. But, what's going on here? And what's that all about? That's just, again, the fear. I'm never going to know and understand what that intimacy is like with a man. And he got his wires crossed somewhere where he felt like the only way that will ever happen is to be sexual with them. And I had this one case, and I'll never forget it. It's a woman who, she believed that her car and her bed was infested with fleas. They had the mattress thrown out, they had all the sheets thrown out, they had her car detailed several times. The real problem was she was having an emotional affair. And it was her guilt that was eating her up. And she felt the bugs were eating her up. And that's what that was. Again, the fear of what she's doing. So fear is at the core of what we are going. But see, this is the thing, that it's not the real emotion that's presented. Okay, what do they usually present when they're fearful? It's anger and hostility. For those who are the betrayers, what do they present when they're angry? They become defensive, and they also show anger. So see, we're not showing people what really is going on. And that's part of what we need to do as we move forward. We have to start talking about our fear, what I am afraid of. It's not, oh, you were supposed to call me and you didn't call me. You are just a complete a-hole, blah, blah, blah. No, you know what it is? It's, you made me fearful. You made me scared. that is going to penetrate him like nothing you could ever say. Go back to the idea we talk about emotional focused therapy for couples. Don't talk about the stuff. Talk about how you feel about the stuff. And even for you, who've been betrayed, that maybe you have to say, hey, you know what? I want to be here with you. I want to sit here. But right now, when you raise your voice like that, I can hear, it's like I feel like my mother is screaming at me. And I want to just run away. And hopefully maybe that gets you to say, then this isn't going to be productive. Because I think whenever a betrayed partner is trying to grieve, it is about grieving, which leads to healing, which makes it productive. Whenever we start to get away from that, and you are going to get away from it, okay? Because again, the amygdala. But whenever you start to get away from it and you don't bring it back to what the objective is of grieving, it is all wasted energy. It's all wasted energy because the both of you are so highly reactive at that moment that what you're really trying to accomplish is not getting done. It's not getting done. And that's for you who've been betrayed to be heard and also to be understood that I need security. And part of that security is I need you to emotionally connect. It's very difficult to emotionally connect with somebody who is being hostile to you. It is. And again, do not think of me, I am not condemning the hostility that happens. It's part of this process. But at some point, we have to say, what am I trying to do here? What is it that I want from him that will help me? And the same thing with the betrayed. Huh? The fact that, you're supposed to be there to help, to see the pain. Well, if you're just going to look and you're going to see hostility because, again, of the pain and the hurt that you suffered from the past that came in and magnified everything, you're not going to accomplish anything. And what you're doing is you're being self-centered again. You're being inwardly focused. You're not looking out to be able to say, let me cut through this stuff that's coming at me, okay? Here come the frying pans. Here come the rock. Well, I cut through. And what am I going to see? I'm going to see a scarred little girl. May have gotten hurt when she was younger, but wow, you know what? I put a lot of pain on her. And she needs me. And yes, it's kind of difficult sitting here with this, but she needs me. And I should be thankful, thank God that she's even here. She had other options. She could have left. She didn't. She's here. And I should show gratitude toward that. And I should show patience and understanding. And to take and hold on to my fear and move forward. And I just want to kind of end this in a way of talking about real quickly the idea that, the other thing about fear is it is producing these large amounts of cortisol in your body. Cortisol produces inflammation. Inflammation kills cells. Okay? You have to understand all of that is causing a lot of physical distress for many of you. There was something that was a study that was done, Kaiser Permanente and the CDD. My guys know about this because we talk about it. They did the adverse childhood event experience study. And in it, what they came to see is that people who suffered trauma when they were younger, more likely to have many different physical, mental, and emotional issues as they get older. Okay. I went through trauma as a kid. When I was 32, I was diagnosed with hypertension. I'm 5'8". I'm 160 pounds. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. Hypertension, most likely it was the result of that. When we talk about, fear, what can fear lead to from an emotional standpoint? It could lead you to dissociate, which is what we see with many of the men who deal that. It leaves us with this inability to really express our emotion because I'm too afraid of it. It leaves you feeling helpless. Many times the betrayed feel that sense of helplessness. Okay, can lead to other types of mood disorders, depression, and of course, anxiety with it. Also we look at it from a mental standpoint. What are the consequences? Well, again, think about it. You kind of panic. So therefore you have racing thoughts, you have irrational thinking, you start to be more judgmental about things. You suffer mental fatigue. You can't even remember what's going on. You have so much self-doubt. There's so many different things, even from a spiritual standpoint. Maybe you become bitter toward God. You become disgusted by, religion overall. You have no trust. Maybe you're waiting for God to fix it, and therefore you're stunted and you're not doing anything that you really need to do. And I end this today with this. Be aware. Be aware that fear is playing a major role right now in your recovery, both of you. And then with that awareness, as you go through the recovery process, to attempt to be vulnerable with one another in sharing the fear that you're experiencing. So that when we're having dialogue, which is what it's supposed to be, that it ultimately becomes productive, that it becomes something that it puts us on the road to healing, because that's where we need to go. And I preface a lot of this. I understand there are times there's just going to be grieving for the sake of grieving. There's just going to be hostility because there has to be hostility. But when it becomes the norm, when you guys are stuck in this cesspool, there's nothing to be gained. You got to think about what is it that we're trying to accomplish. Hopefully we want to heal and we want to move to a different marriage and we want to take what happened and we want to put it over here. I didn't bury it. I'm putting it over here. So therefore it's out of our sight, but yet I could just turn and see it because it's going to pop up. But think about what is it that you want to ultimately accomplish and understand that fear is undermining it. Tammy, that's all I got for you today.
Great stuff. When you're talking about gratitude that she stayed, it's so hard when there's anger and whatever coming at you to go, wait, I should be grateful that this person stayed in this relationship, even though I betrayed. So, shoring up your ability to step into that space, having a plan for, when this happens, so you can switch. I love that you're talking about. Go ahead.
What you're saying there is I can't wait till I get in the trenches and then you're coming at me to sit there and say, oh, I'm so grateful.
Right.
I have to be, you just said the word plan. I have to be when things are okay or I'm by myself, just to be, you know what? She had choices and she decided to stay. She decided to take a chance on me again. I'm so grateful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I love that you're talking about, if this isn't working, we have to figure out how to do something differently, and usually not in the moment, because then nobody's brain is functioning. But like this is a pattern that we keep falling into. How do we make a shift? What can I do? What can you do? Like whatever, so that we start to look at things differently. And you're so right about not early in the process, but
wouldn't it be great to be hearing more of that? What you just said. You know what? Again, we are just stuck here. We need to shift. We need to change. We have to do something different. One of my clients brought it up today, said that, phrase that, hey, you know what? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, that's wrong. That's, definition of insanity. And in a way it is. And again, I'm not trying to minimize the betrayal trauma. I'm not trying to minimize the amygdala and the effect of it, but there are times your amygdala is not going 24/7. And there are times when it's calmer, when you have to sit and you have to think about, okay, what am I trying to accomplish? And what you should be trying to accomplish first and foremost for anything is your own well-being and your own health. First and foremost. And then everything
yeah.
else.
Yeah, that's true for both. You talked about the cortisol. Do you know how many people I hear, particularly partners, that are struggling with autoimmune issues? I mean, real physical manifestations.
Yeah.
But I was also
Yep.
thinking about the mental health. If you're in fear, how could you not be anxious, trying to put all the pieces in place to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or depressed in the, oh my goodness, this is never going to change it. So falling into the trap of fear is physically, mentally, damaging, detrimental to each person. I think being empowered to go, I recognize the fear, like you're saying, I recognize it, my inner child, I recognize that this is happening, but I can choose differently.
That's right.
Go ahead. I think the anger too, I see it on both sides, and I get that. And I know that anger is a cover for fear or hurt or whatever, and it's the powerful thing. But just like you said, it pushes people away. Why would I want to have a conversation with somebody when they're raging at me? It's not safe,
Right.
but you can.
I will say this too. Again, I can understand the anger aspect of the person who's been betrayed. I still do not and cannot understand the anger that my men would have, because again, the idea is, and I understand, right? We start to get elevated, our anxiety level increases. All right, we're getting flooded, as they would say. You still have a choice here. You do not have to get angry back. Instead, you could say, time out. I'm taking a time out. Remember what I said? I'm taking it. I'm not acting. I'm taking it. And the reason I'm taking it is because I'm going to go and reset. Reset, because I'm not going to fight with you. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve for me to yell at you. You don't deserve any of that. So therefore, I'm going to go calm down my kid, and I'm going to come back and replenish so that we can try to sit and do this again. I just drive me crazy that you men who again have caused all this problem, that you're going to sit there and get angry with her, scream at her, curse at her, whatever it may be. No, you have another choice. Slow everything down. I feel it. I can feel it. All right, feel it in my chest. I feel it in my shoulder. I can feel my anxiety increasing. I'm getting angry. What she's saying is wrong. It's not right. That's not it. She's like, oh, she's demeaning me with those words. Stop. Time out. Okay, look, you know what? What's happening here right now? This is not beneficial. And I'm sorry, I know I hurt you, but I am not going to sit here and listen to you talk to me that way. Just not going to do it. I'm sorry. I will come back. I'm coming back. And hopefully we'll move on. So anyway,
Well, that's
coming
on
off
both
my
sides, because
soapbox now.
both of them can get into the rage stuff. So, and
But
taking
they
that time out
shouldn't.
is,
That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
They should not get into rage.
I know, but how effective is it to shut somebody down? It's not safe. So, and then they unfortunately often don't come back to the conversation. It has
supposed
just
to come back.
I understand.
I tell them that they all know The most important thing you say before you leave is, I will be back. The most important thing. So,
Okay. We have bunches of questions, so we're going to get at
answer
them.
your question.
Betrayed partner here, married for 42 years. Discovery was less than 2 years ago. We went through the whole process of full therapeutic disclosure, etc. SA husband is doing all the recommended recovery work and for the most part doing well. During our marriage, he verbally abused me probably 2 to 4 times per year. The last time was just this past November. In my worst betrayal trauma episodes, I have yelled at him, screamed, cussed, broken things, slammed doors, etc., which is completely opposite of what my personality has been throughout our marriage. I recently found out he considers my behaviors during our trauma episodes as abusive. On one hand, he tells me he's the one that caused my trauma and I need to get all of this out and that it's part of the grieving and healing process for me. On the other hand, he calls it abusive behavior. I don't know what to think.
Well, you know, breaking things, slamming doors, cursing at people. I mean, that is abusive behavior. If you think about it, it really is. Um, Even though, but I'm if I'm him, I'm not making myself a victim out of it. I may be turning to you to say, hey, can we, kind of lower some of that intensity? And yes, I know I did it to you, and I'm very sorry. That should have been the last thing I should have ever done. But can we again think about, what are you trying to accomplish? And I think that's where it need to go. And here you said he's doing his work. You think for the most part he's doing it well. If he's listening, I would tell him, you know what? Okay, fine. You let her know that you think it's abusive. Move away from that now. And again, focus on, if she, with the trauma that she has, being able to see the pain. And when it gets too intense, and it may get intense again, time out. I'll be back, but I'm going to take a time out and then make sure you get back there.
Yeah, I was thinking this is a good time to take my own inventory, so
Hmm.
and I honestly, I agree, and both can be true,
Mhm.
if he's focusing on, well, you did this, that will not be helpful for your
No,
relationship. So identifying that this stuff has happened and how do we prevent it from happening again and how do we move
right.
forward would be probably more beneficial than rehashing that over and over
Yes,
again. Okay.
absolutely.
Could you please help me understand? I'm going to meet a long lost relative. I got little information about his state, but I was told he had multiple children, multiple wives, cheated on all of them. I don't care about his past. I just want to meet my family. Was his inner child also all of this, in all of this instability, a reason?
Well, his inner child, first of all, the inner child, okay, brings back the emotion of something from the past that we can't deal with. And therefore, we just run off to do something. But again, if I tell people, I'm not blaming the inner child. This man, this relative is responsible for all of his actions. Yes, my guess is he has a lot of emotional wounds and some mental wounds. My guess is that he didn't have that role model of what he's supposed to be taught of what it's supposed to be a man, to be a good husband, to be a loving father. He probably didn't have any of that. And that all led to the development of a guy who makes many bad decisions. And again, like you said, I don't want to know, I don't really care about his past. I just want to meet the family. I wouldn't get too caught up in the whole inner child here. It's just to understand that some people are very broken. We're all broken, but some people are more broken than others.
Next question. When the abandonment wound of my partner enters into that moment you are describing, my wife pushes me away and says to leave her alone and give her space. She wants me to leave. If I do, later we have a massive fight about how I abandoned her, put my head in the sand, swept things under the rug, and ran away. The shaming takes place. So I try to stay around, not leave, but then she feels like her boundaries of asking for space are violated. Leaning into the empathy in face of the rage and hostility, as you mentioned, is so hard, and I often can't get there. Any advice on these moments? Amygdala on fire, and she is yelling at me to leave. Get out now. I state I will check on her in an hour, and I do, but the cycle continues.
Yeah. Well, okay. So again, I am still, doing what you are doing. Is I am not going to take off. I won't linger around. I will make sure before I leave, I will be telling her, look, okay, I'm going to give you space. However, I'm good. I'm here. I'm here. I'm not leaving, to go somewhere. I'm available for you. And then, like you said, I will go back and I will check on her. Even if she said, get out now, like, okay. At least you continue to show, hey, I'm willing to walk into that fire and to check on her, despite the fact that I may get, what the hell did I told you? I told you get out of here. Blah, blah. Okay, she's not ready yet. I'll go back, but I would just keep coming back. That's what I would do.
And I'm wondering about less than an hour, because maybe touching base in 15 minutes. But the other thing is, we talked about this a little bit ago, is if you're trying to do this when amygdala is on fire,
Yeah.
you're not going to. So perhaps having a conversation. We seem to get into this pattern, and I don't know how to make this different. Can we discuss it so that we have a plan that we can try? And it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to try that. And if that works, great. If it doesn't, we can adapt from there. But waiting till the amygdala is on fire is, like, that's too late.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's a very good point. Do the planning, have the conversation during those times when things are calmer.
Next one, I have been driving the recovery for 24 years of our marriage. My partner has gone to recovery programs. We have had many couples therapists, and only over the last year have we had a CSAT. My spouse resents my advising him that there is work to do for recovery. He waits for the very last minute, and when I see him avoiding doing the work, I direct him to go do the work. I do it, or I think I know it's not the best solution. He does not willingly work his program. I cannot bear any more of this pain and suffering. We have had in-house separations. He moved out for 3 months. He cannot understand or take responsibility for all the abusive amends. He has never made any amends to me willingly. When I say I am injured and explain, he provides excuses, denies or turns around and blames me. He has been advised of his passive aggressive behaviors. I feel the only option is separation. We have never moved forward. Why won't he get help or see the pain? Besides not focusing on him, do you have any advice or suggestions for me?
I can't answer that question. I don't know why you won't get help. I don't know why he won't see your pain. Um, I'm more concerned about you and the fact that, again, like 24 years, and we've tried everything. And as you said, I'm driving it.
Mhm.
That's got to be so exhausting. And I can imagine that, again, that just keeps your fear right there. Now, you didn't say anything about whether or not he has been sober or if he made, some kind of headway, and whether his anger issues are down or whatever it might be. So I don't know, what that's about. But yeah, I mean, he may be at a point where he feels like, hey, I've done all the work. I know what I need. I'm in a good place. I would hope he's still doing some kind of group, because I think it's still important for him to be doing that. But I wonder, why is it that you are so fearful of, him not showing you that work all the time? Again, after 24 years, again, if he's sober, but again, like I said, there's not enough information for me. I'm more concerned about you, and I think that you're the one who need to start to look to say, how do I let go of some of this for your own well-being? I don't know what you
Yeah,
think, Tammy.
I do, because Dr. Rob just did a presentation, and he shared at some point, partners have to let go, and it's for your own safety. But like at some point, do you have enough support besides him? Can you just accept that this is who he is? And if you can, and that works for you, and you have the support, so that you are not I mean, 24 years of being on high alert of, I mean, it's like having a 3-year-old for 24 years, where you are constantly, running after them. At some point it's like, stop, I need to take care of myself. What you do is what you do. And if I can live with that, great. If I can't, then there's choices. Lots of people find their path together, understanding that this is as good as he's willing to be. On the other hand, we have a treatment program. We've had lots of guys like him, come to that where he gets the higher level of help, because this sounds like somebody who's kind of that dry drunk. I may be abstinent, I may not be acting out, but I got zero recovery going.
Right. It could be.
Okay, next question. My husband has worked with you, Eddie, quite a bit over the last 16 months. He did 3 weeks at SI Now therapy and SAA work. We have had to separate after 2 incomplete disclosures. One he passed the polygraph for, and it has been 6 months of separation. And now we have to go no contact because he cannot stop raging, gaslighting, and passive aggressive behavior, as well as inconsistently keeping boundaries and lying. I'm 63 and we've been together for 45 years. Any suggestions?
Okay, again, and I know what this is,
Mhm.
what's going on here. As I said, I think there's more to this story, or there's
Mhm.
more to what's going on with
Mhm.
him that we just don't know
Right.
at this point. And I think that's right now, like you said, with the separation, to see if that helps. That if you guys can, again, I'm more worried about you than I am him right now, because like I said, you've been through a lot in all this
Mhm.
time, and I think that's where your focus has to be.
Yeah.
Your focus has to be on you, and to stop worrying about what he will give you and what he will not give you.
And I'm with you. What do you're 63. What do you need for your safety now and going forward? You've been together a long time, and I understand the wanting to hold on to that. I totally do. But if in a year or 2 or 3 he is still acting like this, are you okay with it? And if you are, and you have the safety in place, your healthy boundaries, again, great. Stepping away
Right.
when he's raging, nope, not going to take that, all good. But at some point, you have to understand what is going to work for you. And I always encourage people to visualize, are you okay if it's a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and this is staying the same? That's the challenge,
Mhm.
because the day to day we get caught up in, well, we can do today, and then all of a sudden it's 16 months and there's still a lot of rage. So okay, next question. Oops, my What if there's a history of emotional abuse and hostility by the betrayed to the betrayer that predates the addiction? What if the betrayer's fear comes from this?
Well, okay. So the one thing that I'm having a problem with that predates the addiction. I mean, I would imagine the addiction was there and you were in the addiction. Maybe it wasn't discovered at that point, but that besides everything. Yeah, well, I guess the question is, if there's emotional abuse and hostility, what were you doing before to put up your boundaries with it before the addiction became known? Also, could it be that your addiction, which I assume was probably active, but not known at this point, did that create some sort of a distance between the two of you that caused a level of frustration? And therefore, that's what you were seeing. You were seeing that hostility and that emotional abuse because she thought something's missing here. There's something wrong. And maybe it was her fear that was kicking in even before she found out what was going on.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's like, if you are emotionally unavailable and somebody's looking for connection, I'm not condoning any kind of abuse,
Oh,
emotional, physical, any of that. But on the other hand, it's like, if somebody is desperately trying to connect and somebody is completely unavailable, you can see where that conflict is. I guess at this point, it's like, all of that is of interest. What are you doing right now to stop the problematic behaviors, make sure that you're in, the betrayer is in recovery, and that the betrayed has support, to help soothe, regulate, so that you guys can approach your now and,
Yeah.
in a different way.
Right. And I would definitely be looking to be doing some couples work on this so that we can, again, when we come together, we're coming together to try to help and promote healing.
Next question. Thanks, Dr. Eddie, for this webinar. I feel like my wife gets activated with a trigger. I try to stay present and listen. I just can't regulate right in the moment. So I try not to explain or prove any point or even tell how that makes me feel. I want to know if you have any more insight on those moments.
Yeah, again, so Carla, what I ask people to do, what I ask my men to do is to take time, because again, you know what that cycle is when she's getting activated with a trigger, right? Take some time and sit down and start to write out, okay, what goes on? What are the steps that are being taken here? And therefore then for you to kind of lay out your game plan. How am I going to respond? Okay, so let's say she gets triggered and she gets very sad. How do I respond to that? Did she get triggered and she gets hostile? How do I respond to that? She gets triggered and she starts making accusations that are not true. How am I going to respond to that? So therefore, you don't have to wait till you get in the middle of it, because as you say, I stay present, but I can't regulate then, because panic starts to set in. But by being able to sit and go through these scenarios, to be able to look at them and say, all right, what's going to do? It's going to give you more confidence. You have more confidence that you can do what she needs. You can give her what she needs at that moment. That's what I'd be doing.
So the next question, it's interesting. So thank you for validating that a betrayed is normal to lose faith and get angry at God and all of the injustice. It has made me feel more bad and guilty while I'm already suffering. And while I need God so bad, such a dilemma. And I know that is such a conflict. So can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's normal. It happens quite often for those, because again, it's like, wait a second, I thought, God, you brought us together. We had this life that I thought was going to be blessed by you, and it's you know gone to hell. And part of the reason it did is because, remember, that Satan is the prince of this world. All right. This is a broken world and we deal with broken people. But the one thing I know is that God has not abandoned you. I know God is weeping with you when you weep. God is there to try to help you to maybe look at things from a different perspective of what you need. Who are the people you have to surround yourself with that will help you? You know, so God has big shoulders. Right? He can take the anger. He's okay with it. He understands. However, there's also a time when you start to say to yourself, you know what? All right, grieve it. And that's what that is. It's grieving to God. But once you're done grieving to God, it's like, okay, go and bring yourself back to him. Bring yourself back to him, because I know overall it will be a great benefit and a blessing for you to have him back in your life.
I have found, and this is my personal journey, and everybody take what you need and leave the rest. But from my personal journey, I've had tussles, with God, and like you said, big shoulders. And what I have found is that my connection has been strengthened, in my willingness to engage. It wasn't just like backing completely off, but I also leaned in and learned more. I did research, and so it honestly was a meaningful part of my journey, was not just accepting the blind faith that I was raised with. That, like, my relationship is completely different, and I'm grateful for that. But it was because I did the tussling. So
Yep.
okay. How
Tussling.
can I let how can I let go of fear how can I let go of fear when my husband has acted out for 40 years? We are 1.5 years out out from great recovery work on both of our parts. He appears to be a new man, but he lived a double life and I have no clue. I have given 100%, kept my vows, and I'm still here. The pain is unbearable at times and triggers happen, but less frequently. Will I ever feel safe?
I say yes. So why do I say yes? Because first and foremost, all of the positives that you listed there, including what you did put at the end, triggers are happening, but they're less frequently. So therefore, yes, there are going to be times the pain is going to be excruciating. It is. However, what you also put in there, the fact that he appears to be a new man. I'd like to know what's the difference. What do you see now that's different from the guy before? And other than the fact that he's just not cheating any longer, right? If you put in that we both have great recovery work on both our parts. So therefore, if there's this movement, you're only a year and a half out. And I know some people say, well, only? No, I mean, 40 years? See, you're not just grieving the infidelity, you're grieving the whole relationship. And that's what makes it more intense. It makes it more excruciating, and it makes it more difficult. So you sound though that you're on the right path. Yes, you're going to have those moments. But again, for you, continue to do your recovery work, continue to work with a counselor, continue to be in a group, but also continue to look at the changes that this new guy is bringing to you. Because that ultimately is what's going to tip the scale and make you feel, that safety that you're looking for so that you can move on.
And I think the safety is you'll trust your gut.
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
know you don't trust his words, you trust his actions, you see what he's doing, but you'll trust your gut because you previously had the luxury of believing that he was faithful to you. He was honoring his vows, all of those things. Now you know that he wasn't, but you've learned so much. And so will you trust 100% him?
Mhm.
No, you can't, because you know that he has betrayed you. But if he's doing what he needs to today, you can trust him for today. But I believe that you can trust your gut. I consistently hear partners that go, something shifted and he started distancing, and that was the first clue that something was shifting. So
Right,
that's where your safety is.
right. And you know what that gut is? That gut is actions that he is taking or not taking. That's what that is.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you're absolutely right, because what the idea about when will I ever feel safe? She's never gonna feel 100% safe. There'll always be a little bit that'll be there for her.
Yeah, yeah. So my question is that my wife, who has now signed divorce papers, is constantly bringing up what I've done and not done. It has been over a year since discovery. It took me a year to go to treatment. My CSAT did not feel my disclosure was ready. So we were asking for an extension. The question is, my shortcomings come up on every phone call and meeting that she is upset, and I'm not spending more time. We do not live together and have not for a year. It's very hard to spend any time when this happens.
She signed divorce papers and having, we don't live together, haven't for a year. And the problem is, whenever I get on the phone or I meet with her, she's upset that I'm not spending more time. I got a complete disconnect, because I would think that if you guys are getting divorced, you're going your own separate ways with things. But for me, all right, her decision's been made. And so therefore, if you want to keep talking about my shortcomings, I'm sorry. I'm not going to have that conversation. I'll have conversation with whatever needs to be done to make the divorce as seamless as possible. Anything that has to do with the family, any kind of logistics and issue. But no, I'm not going back and talking about the past. So I'm sorry, this conversation needs to end. I'll be more than happy to, pick it up. If you want to call me back in 5 minutes, if you're ready to do that, I'm more than happy to do it, but I'm not doing this any longer. So again, I may be off on this because I'm not sure I have enough information, but based on what you've just given me, I think, where's your boundary? I would have a boundary that I don't no longer need to sit and talk about this with you. Well, you made a decision. Okay, I'm going to go with that decision.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, your attorney can talk to my attorney. And if there's
Hmm.
children, it would be, we're going to talk only about, the transfer of children, et cetera. But yeah, 100%. What are your boundaries around this? Being the whipping post for, abusive language with somebody who is disconnected and wants to be out of the relationship. I would honor her willingness to,
Hmm.
I would honor her requirement about the divorce, and like Dr. Eddie said, make it as seamless as possible. Okay, next question. This is part two. Any suggestions? He has misused the 4 timeout rules. He screams, yells, breaks things, and then says he has to go calm down and hangs up on me.
Well, first of all, I mean, well, we can't be doing this stuff. I mean, you breaking things, yelling, screaming. No, when do you put an end to that? When do you just say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not putting up with your childish ways. I refuse to do this any longer. You know what? You need to go and stay out until you can come back. Go get help for your anger. Go get help for what you need to do before you even come back and talk to me about this. Okay, again, protect yourself at this point.
I'm like, this is a phone call. Why is he hanging up on you? Why are you engaged to the point where he's starting to yell? And at the first yelling, it'd be like, I'm going to go now and hang up. So
Goodbye.
yeah, yeah. Empower yourself. Don't wait for him to hang up on you. Okay, next question. My husband failed our marriage in more ways than being unfaithful, financially, emotionally, etc. I'm doing well on my own now and very emotionally safe. It feels like I'm presented with only 2 options. He does the work and I go back, or he doesn't do the work and I don't go back. What about he's doing the work and I don't want to continue the marriage? That's absolutely.
What about if you're doing the work and I don't want to, Suzanne? Like you said, what you are again also grieving is not just someone who committed, infidelity. You're looking at a man who, again, throughout the relationship, has not really acted like the husband he's supposed to be. He haven't protected you the way he was supposed to protect you. Haven't guarded your heart the way you were supposed to do that. So therefore, even if he's doing the work, there probably is a part of you, again, like, because obviously living, alone, separate, that doesn't want to go back to that marriage. I would imagine that's where your head is. But I think what you need to do is just give it some more time. Give it more time, but also maybe give him some opportunity to show you whether or not he can be different, if things can be different in your life before again making that decision.
Yeah, and I think that's a valid option though. Like you can realize that this person is not the person that you want to be on the journey for forever. But
Yeah.
like I don't think you have to be contained to this option or that option. I think explore all of them, because if you choose something and resent it later, that doesn't, that isn't helpful too. So getting input, the Old Ladies Posse is on Tuesdays and it's named that, they named it. But I think having a posse of people that can help you, and, look at all of the options and explore the pros and cons of all of these things,
Mhm.
but I really think, I see this often, people will go, in my head, I know what I need to do or what I want to do or whatever, but it's not in your heart yet. And I think when you connect those two, then you're making a decision, that is holistic for you and you can live with. So,
Yeah, and you also, you just put a comment down at the bottom
yeah,
that I'm still in so much pain. You
yeah,
are, at that point, this is not the season to think about whether I
yeah,
want to continue to manage the marriage or not. It's not the season. Right
yeah,
now, the season is your work, his work.
yeah,
That's what it's
yeah.
about. And then, like I said, giving him some opportunity, and again, in a very kind of safe way to
Hmm.
see what if it's anything different, because it has to be very different.
Yeah, to be safe for you.
All right,
Okay,
last
so
question.
last
We're going to get
question.
through all our
Yes.
questions. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Can family enmeshment be a reason someone became a porn addict? Toxic
Yes.
in-laws have told me I don't know my husband and he slept with women and his ex behind my back. Can in-laws and his siblings lie to attack your marriage or maybe jealous? Can anyone relate? Thank you. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. But to answer your first question, yeah, family enmeshment definitely can be a rationale for someone turning toward at behavior, destructive behavior, such as pornography. Now, in fact, one of the new kids, I think I told you, Tammy, we're adopting 2 new children into the inner child model.
Oh,
Okay.
no, I don't think I remember this. So,
Oh,
okay.
okay. We got 2 new children. The second edition is going to be
Okay.
coming out toward the end of the summer because we're getting approached and we're approaching almost 10,000 copies sold of the
Wow.
book. And we have the enmeshed child and the spiritually wounded child. I don't know how I
Oh,
missed the enmeshed child, to tell you the truth. That
yeah.
child should have been there from the beginning. But yes, enmeshment definitely can play a major role because think about all the anxiety that child is dealing with, trying to navigate a very complex family system where, again, everyone else's feelings, everyone else's desires, everyone else's needs are more important than mine. So again, and like you said, you got siblings, in-laws, everybody seemed to be attacking, and it might be jealousy. Yes, it could be. So yeah, that's a tough situation. You definitely need to get a couples counselor involved with you and your husband to figure out how to work through that because there definitely have to be boundaries put up with those people because they are not safe.
So, so yes, can in-laws and siblings, lie to attack and all? Yes. Can they be broken people? Yes. Can they whatever? Regardless, if your person has been, cheating and slept with other people and blah blah blah, that's the issue. Is that that's within your relationship. So I just put in the chat. Among the various work groups that we have is Dr. Eddie's, but also we have a spiritual, for people who have been wounded by spiritual abuse, spiritual whatever. That one is starting this month. So Jason Swilling is hosting that. It's the first time we're offering that, but I think that's going to be really helpful because unfortunately too many people have been wounded in that. So I love that your inner child is now going to include that as well. So check that out. But and then the other thing, the enmeshment, Dr. Ken Adams is the expert on enmeshment, and he has done a
Yes.
podcast with Dr. Rob on sex, love, and addiction. So you'll find that. So listen, to that. And he's written, When He's Married to Mom and
Oh,
Oh,
great work.
Silently Seduced. It was the other one.
Yeah.
And then he also did the adult children of sex addicts, which is really powerful too. But anyway,
Yeah.
so yes,
Good work.
enmeshment. Yeah. But think about just briefly and then we'll be done. But enmeshment, if my primary relationship is with a parent and they're telling me that that is primary, it's really easy to numb out with porn or sex addiction where there's no vulnerability. But a relationship where I'm connected to another person infringes on this enmeshment. So the logic of it all makes sense. Unfortunately, it's really been painful for the people that are enmeshed, but they can be
Mm.
emancipated as well. So
All right. So I did want to say one first. Priscilla had a quick question. My answer would be no. Okay. I think your friends are right. I don't think you should be coming to the house right now. It's only been 2 months in here, so I would say no right now.
yes,
But I
and
did
you've
want to
been on
say,
before
go
and
ahead.
shared, like, there's a lot going on with that person. Trust your boundaries. Like, he's not safe for you. So
Okay, good. Well, you know a lot more than I do with
I
that,
do.
but
I
I
remember.
would
So
just
yeah,
say no.
yeah.
I just want to say thank all of you. I want to say thank you for turning out. I mean, my gosh, I mean, we had a lot of people here today, and I really appreciate your support, and I hope that you found it valuable. I hope you got something out of it, just even a golden nugget, a nugget of any
They
kind.
got lots out of it. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this is
Well,
one of those where, like, this will be posted on the recording will be posted on our website. I've mentioned the work groups. We have work groups. Dr. Eddie leads multiple work groups, on our site too. So there's lots of places to connect and get more help and support. So as always, Dr. Eddie, I'm grateful for your work. I'm grateful for you showing up,
thank you.
and glad I can count on you. So
Thank you. We'll see. Oh, I may not see you guys next month. Okay. I need to look at something. I think I might be traveling, but we'll get
you can
together.
email me and maybe we switch weeks or something. So let's see.
Okay.
Okay.